the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you today? I am your host, BKP. And yes, I did watch. Hold on, trying to get my little mouse to work here. Did it quit working? There it is. Yes, I did watch SNL 50 years. I did not like it. And it wasn't terrible, but I did not really enjoy it. I don't think they highlighted. They took the time to highlight the greatest years of the show. Now, I remember the night it premiered. I watched it. I'll never forget. We had the downstairs TV. We had the sliding glass door. I did not intend to watch the show. In fact, don't remember. I was very young that it was coming on until there was a knock on the glass door. And the neighbor, we'll just call him Dominic. Dominic was knocking on the glass door. I go over there, open the glass door. It's like 11:15. We're watching TV. It's like 11:15. What do you want? I want to watch this show. I can't watch it at home. I'll never forget that. So, yes, I watched the 50th anniversary special of Saturday Night Live. I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't the worst thing I ever watched, but we'll move right along. Now, today is President's Day. Give me number 41. Diane, this will be the fastest 38 minutes in show business. So, number 41, it's really disappointing. Oh, by the way, good morning. I'm your host, BKP. You're watching BKP Politics on voiceofruralamerica.com. It's President's Day. You will see this in the full screen in a minute. I'm a Reagan Republican. I support Donald J. Trump. So this is the mugshot. It is actually hanging. There's a touch of Georgia at the White House. President Donald Trump has displayed his framed copy of the New York Post edition that featured the mugshot from his August 2023 arrest in Fulton County. So let me just say this as we scoot right past this. I want you to think about that. It meant enough to him that every time he leaves the Oval Office to remind him of that day in Georgia, to remind him of that day in Fulton County, to remind him of Brad Raffensperger, to remind him of maybe Gabriel Sterling, Jordan Fuchs, to remind him of Chris Carr, Fonnie Willis, to remind him of maybe Brian Kemp every day and what happened in Georgia. Be on the lookout. Is that what it is? Just watch for this to develop in Georgia. Pam Bondi, can we say Pam Bondi? Take it down. Today's President's Day. We are excited that number 6, many of you watched yesterday, the president and the beast go around. There you go. The limo, the beast go around there at Daytona. President Trump, take that down. Thank you very much, Diane. Diane, we start the week with the number 17, the shock and all. By the way, this is the program where we don't cover, we're not the sensational moment of the day. The sensational moment of the day is we don't work on that here. And another thing, you can't doge without Republicans. You got to remember that. And in Georgia, where I live, you can't doge, period. Now, there was a stunt that was put out there that Georgia is going to come up with their own form of doge. Folks, Republicans hold in Georgia, Republicans hold the state house, the state senate, all constitutional offices, right? Can't doge in Georgia. No doge here. Because you would bump into Republicans everywhere, and they don't want you to look behind the curtain, trust me. So let's start here. Now we got Europe. They're freaking out. Let's see. We've got Europe, Ukraine, right? Russia, America, Iran, Israel, Zelensky. Someone should let Zelensky know. The American people, thank you for some shock and awe. Someone should let Zelensky know, good morning, Diane, that the American people do not care for him. And someone should let Zelensky know that we're on to the fact that they have stolen billions and billions of dollars from the American people. And someone should let Vladimir Zelensky know, and Europe, that the American people, we want our money back. Got it? There you go. All right, number 14, cancel culture. So let's go with the Doge jobs for 300, Alex. Some people are upset. Last night, they called it a racist moment on SNL when, what's his name? Tom Hanks, right? Have you never seen SNL do Black Jeopardy? And Doug, is that the first time that you saw Doug with the MAGA hat on Black Jeopardy? If it is, then last night should not have been what offended you. That's been going on for years. And in fact, I kind of like Doug on Black Jeopardy. To me, it's a little funny. So moving right along. Cancel culture. They are upset. Now, we're in the real world. We're going to come to you from the real world. And Diane, we're going to start through, before we get to Europe, we're going to start through the cancel culture here that they're upset about. And, President's Day. Give me number 5. President Trump pushing presidential limits. All right. And here you go. Number 9, Musk influence on display as administration targets federal workforce. 1,300 CDC, 2,000 Department of Energy, 1,000 Department of Veterans Affairs. Now, these are some of the agencies. There you go, number 10, right? 200,000 employees targeted there. And all of a sudden, they're upset here. Democrats using the word corruption, number 11, the most corrupt bargain in American history. Corrupt. Wow. Interesting. Now, number 12, versus billionaires. Wait a minute. There you go. We got to go with 16 and then 12. I'm sorry. Elizabeth Warren, this fight is about hardworking people. Go back to the other one. Versus billionaires. She glossed right over the millionaires, like the legislators, the elected officials in this country that went into the House, the Senate with 50 grand, and now 2 million, 3 million, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million. And hardworking. Now, I want to say this in all due respect. If you're out there and you got a family member that works in the courthouse or works somewhere in the government or works in an agency, I'm not telling you they're all's a big word, but please do not associate the majority of these bureaucrats with hardworking Americans. Please do not. There are going to be men and women that are going to put on tires today, men and women that are going to frame houses today, men and women that are going to work the old-fashioned wheelbarrow today, whatever. And I understand there's other jobs out there that you have to work hard at. I mean, I work several hours a week at this job, but I've never called what I do here really hard work. Because I know the Americans out there that are doing hard work. But that being said, hardworking Americans versus billionaires. They want to gloss over, like I said, the multimillionaires that stole money from the American people. All right, I had cancel culture 14. We did that one, shock and all. Give me number 19. We're going to play a couple videos here. Doge. I'm all about the Doge. I really am. Cutting the bureaucracy. Now, there's a lot out there of what are we going to do with it? What is actually happening behind the scenes in the Department of Treasury? What is this going to turn into? Education Department threatens school funds if race. Oh, here you go. I like this one, number 21. IRS expected to lay off thousands. Here is RFK, number 22. Mass firings continue across nations. Health agencies. Number 23, Trump administration fires thousands of federal workers as purge deepens. Number 24, RFK Jr. makes savage cuts to the CDC. Now, let me just say this. Keep going, Elon. Keep going. Keep going. Shut these doors down. Shut it down. And don't stop. Clean house. And remember, President Trump signed he signed an executive order that for every 4 to 1, right? 4 to 1. Every 4 gone, only 1 could be rehired if needed. All right. So, see what else we have before we get into the mess that the Biden administration, all right, the mess that the Biden administration created around the world. I mean, we've talked about this over and over. I get messages from several of you. I don't disagree with you, but I also tell you, look, Trump got handed a a mess, an absolute nuclear mess, a nuclear mess in Iran. Biden's give Iran 4 more years, a nuclear mess, a mess in the Gaza Strip, a mess over in North Korea, a mess in South Asian Sea with the Taiwan and China, a total mess in Russia and Ukraine, a mess within Europe. I mean, and the media bragged about what great relationships we have with all of our allies. Let's see. I don't want that one yet, Diane. We're going to go through here quickly. I want to do that one next. Let me just make sure I got all of these here. I like this one, 39. Brian Kemp on CDC layoffs. Government can stand. This is the governor of Georgia. Government can stand a little resizing. This is a guy that in 4 years increased spending in Georgia $10 billion. This guy knows nothing about resizing government whatsoever. Government in Georgia has exploded, and he has spent the money, and we've got the, what do they say? We got the receipts. So, with all of that being said, the lies. First of all, the anger. Video 1. The anger out there, video 1.
Then it's not optional for us to reduce the federal expenses. It's essential.
Everyone knows there's waste in government and should be cut, but Doge is using a meat axe.
Democrats resist efforts by Elon Musk to cut waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. Senate Majority Whip John Barrasso.
You will not hear one Democrat go to one microphone anywhere on a morning show, an afternoon show, a rally, or anywhere and say, you know, I can understand this little bit over here. Because Schumer just said, we all know, because we passed the bills. We all know we've been stealing from you for years. But he's taking an axe to it. If he would just do a little at a time to lead you to believe we're accomplishing something in D.C. You do realize that's how we operate. We operate under the illusion for you out there that we're accomplishing something or doing something or moving the right direction for you, the American people. That's what's most important to us. BS, right? So we all know that we've been stealing. We all know there's waste, fraud, and abuse. But just video 2.
Era, size. Doge, instead of taking a scalpel and a measured approach and looking at fraud, is instead taking a chainsaw to a number of federal departments. And I think they're just getting started.
Yeah. Just getting started. Is that not amazing? Just getting started. So let's wrap up the USAID, the lies. Now, here in the real world, give me number 43. You see, you worked for a company out there and they just closed. They didn't give you any severance. They just closed. There's people across America that showed up at the office one day and the doors were locked. What happened here? Right? There's people in America that worked at places and they said, as of Friday, we're locking the door. Hold on. I've worked here 16 years. I have a mortgage. I have 2 kids in college. I have some car payments, childcare. And how do you expect me to handle that. Is there a severance? No, we're locking the door Friday. Go to the unemployment. But wait a minute. You see, at the unemployment office, I get $333 a week. I'm making like $1,400 a week now. I can't make it on that, and there's no jobs out there. As of Friday, we're closed. What? See, in the real world, people have to adjust. People have to figure it out. People have to say, what do I do next? People have to have the attitude, I'm not going to give up. But no, if you work for the government, we owe you. 12 days ago, people knew where the next paycheck was coming from. They knew how they were going to pay for their kids' daycare, their medical bills, and then all gone overnight. What lies? Give me video. Listen to this crying. Give me video 14.
People are really scared. I think that, 12 days ago, people knew where their next paycheck was coming from. They knew how they were going to pay for their kids' daycare, their medical bills, and then all gone overnight.
All gone overnight for Christina Dry and Adam Dubard, fired this month in the chaotic shutdown of foreign aid distributed by the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. More than 8,000 USAID employees were sent home by the administration.
They're not looking for competency. They're not looking for if you're good at your job. They're looking for pure loyalty tests. And if you don't give it, you will be punished.
And they had to leave the building. And these are folks who had decades and decades of public service serving USAID across administrations, from, George Bush to Obama to the first Trump administration. And they were never able to walk back in the building again.
There was no process? No one explained to them why they were being relieved?
To my knowledge, they received an email, and then if they didn't leave the building, they were escorted out of the building.
Yes, you are correct. I like that one. Always with the bags of rice. I get it 100%. I'm with you. Here in the real world, Alan Jackson, right? Here in the real world. First of all, that's all lies. All right. And you and I both know the billions into the trillions of dollars that was stolen through NGOs. We know that. The NGOs through America. Hopefully, the next stage of all of this is the criminal prosecutions. Hopefully, the next stage of all of this is the criminal prosecutions of NGOs and so on and so forth, and the kickbacks, as President Trump and Elon Musk has highlighted, the kickbacks that we know are out there. But this is not true, okay? They got a severance package, an amazing severance package. Most corporations don't give this kind of severance package. So you, the American people, the taxpayers, gave these people a severance package to go home. We know they didn't want to return back to the buildings. You and I know the buildings that they say we're taking the letters off of. In fact, I hope, like anything, we start putting some of these properties up for sale. These enormous buildings we don't need anymore, up for sale. They're empty, and you and I know that. So we're not falling for this, but let me show you this before we move on to the little criminal over there in Ukraine, because I don't have a lot of time this morning. I have to go to a meeting, and we'll discuss that, or I'll give you some highlights in a minute. Here's give me number 31. On Google searches or search engines, we told you this. Remember that, Diane? It was a while back. We said these government agencies, in fact, I don't know, Diane, when Trump first got sworn in and Doge happened or whatever, we talked about these government agencies ordering bleach bit. They were all on the phone with each other. We said it jokingly one day here, but we said it several times. They're all on the phone with each other like, Hillary, where do you get that bleach bit to clean these servers? Here are eruption in bleach bit. Wipe hard drives, offshore bank accounts, searches in D.C. suggest deep state panic mode. All right. So here are some of the top searches right now going on in D.C. We'll go right through this 32. D.C. internet searches for criminal defense lawyer, RICO law, studying the RICO law. These are the RICO statute. What is it? Number 33, WikiLeaks. Washington, D.C. searches soar for Swiss bank. All right, that's in the yellow zone. Offshore bank, wire money, and iBank in the blue. These are some of the searches that are out there, the top searches right now. Number 34, WikiLeaks. Washington, D.C. searches soar for wipe and erase, according to Google Trends. See that? Wipe and erase is some of the searches. Number 35. Well, yes, the search term wipe hard drive across the DC metro has gone parabolic. Absolutely. You see the soaring, okay? And bleach bit tool. I know it's funny, but Diane, I know you remember when we said that would happen. Remember that? We said watch for them to start ordering enormous amounts of bleach bit. We said that months ago. Actually, before Elon took off. We said that right here. Washington, D.C. searches, number 36, Washington, D.C. searches for lawyer have increased 400%. And what's the last one? Here's one, number 37, Washington, D.C. searches for statute of limitations. And John Menendez is in jail. Gold bars. Menendez in New Jersey's in prison. Number 38, gold bars off the Titanic. After Trump victory, Biden EPA scrambled to funnel 20 billion taxpayer funds into green NGOs, right? Prison. I have to tell you, I want to see Gitmo fill up with these people. Now, Europe. All right, Europe, they are freaking out. They had a meeting of Europe. They want to put their troops. They say the UK said we'll put troops in Ukraine as peacekeeping. Remember, you choose to put your troops in there, you're on your own, and you get attacked. Don't go crying. Article 5. Now, Zelensky, meet the press this weekend. I think it's disgusting. 15. I think it's absolutely disgusting that these people hate America, that NBC is negotiating on behalf of Zelensky, right? So Donald Trump has a call. Donald Trump sends Bassett, Treasury Secretary, over there. Look, here's how it's going to work, all right? We go to the Munich Security Council and we lay the groundwork, all right, for this little criminal. And Donald Trump talks to Putin, then talks to him. Basically, this is how it's going to work. Europe, they're freaking out over there. So what does he do? He finds NBC to do his negotiating for him. He's got a lot of nerve to make these demands. So Zelensky, let's go with video 4.
This Sunday, foreign relations.
Can Ukraine survive without U.S. military support?
We will have low chance to survive without support of the United States.
My exclusive interview with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as President Trump seeks to negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine.
Do you think President Trump is negotiating in good faith?
I hope so.
Plus,
Okay, this little criminal, he is flat out a criminal, period. This little criminal has the guts to sit there knowing what he has stolen from the American people. This little criminal will not, he has martial law. He will not have elections in his country. This little criminal, you have been paying all their bills, the parliament, their electric bill, their severance package for their people. You've been paying their military, everything. And this little criminal has the nerve. He's pushing back now. Why? Because he has CIA, CBS, CIA, MSNBC, Meet the Press. Because he has the deep state corporate corrupt media negotiating for him. Here you go. Video 6.
Yes.
Can you accept any peace deal that is cut without Ukraine?
No.
You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. Now, I'm not siding with Russia. I say that quite often. I'm not a Russian sympathizer in any way whatsoever. I do not think Vladimir Putin is a great guy. I don't. But this guy has no choice. He knows what he's been stealing, and he knows what he's been doing. And he knows, now I will tell you this, he sits there and someone might have whispered in his ear, do you realize you could bring down almost the entire U.S. government if you tell every politician, Republican and Democrat alike, that the money has gone back into an account? This is pretty deep stuff right here. And I think what he's sitting there thinking at first, he thought when he got the call from Trump, like, yeah, I guess I better listen. And then when Scott Bassett showed up with the paperwork, I guess I better make a deal. Then someone probably said to him, you do realize that you could topple Republicans and Democrats alike if you come clean on where all the money has been laundered and put back in. Oh, I'm telling you. So Ukraine Minerals. Remember last week he was at the table signing a document. He decided to push back. Give me video 7.
About this deal that has been discussed. President Trump has discussed it about mining Ukraine's rare earth minerals. Just so everyone understands, those are minerals that are used to make things like cell phones, electric cars. That would be, President Trump says, to pay back some of what the United States has already given to Ukraine. What is the status of that deal, President Zelensky?
Look, that is first and foremost, we wanted American business to come. And these critical minerals, rare earth, they are closed for many partners. We are ready to open them for the business of the United States. That is what we have. That is where we can put money and make profits together. This is goodwill from us, so it's possible to make money. And I believe that here we cannot forget about the main idea that was in the very beginning, that let us protect all that, help us defend this, and we will make money on this together. And here it's very important that in this document shall be a term to protect it, and that is the security guarantees. And if we're not given the security guarantees from the United States, I believe that the economic treaty will not work.
You had
Lindsey Graham, to name one. You know, Lindsey Graham, you know Lindsey. How many of you over there? You want to make a deal? I think the minerals. I think we both can make some money off that. I think if we have some security agreements, yeah, this will sawed off criminal runt. It's got some nerve right now. And wonder why he feels he has, why he's emboldened. Wonder who went to him and said, you do realize all you got to do is, throw Lindsey Graham. I mean, you got a long list of people that you put the money in their bank accounts. You have a little negotiating power here with the U.S. Watch and see. Now, let's go with equal seat at the table, video 10.
when he was asked if he sees Ukraine as an equal member in the peace process. He did say later that Ukraine would have a seat at the table. Have you been given any assurances that Ukraine will have an equal seat at the negotiating table?
So I will never accept any decisions between the United States and Russia about Ukraine. Never. And our people, never. And our adults and children and everybody. It can't be so. This is the war in Ukraine against us, and it's our human losses. And we are thankful for all the support, unity between USA, in USA, around Ukraine support, bipartisan unity, bipartisan support. We're thankful for all of this, but there is no any leader in the world who can really make a deal with Putin without us, about us. Of course, the United States can have a lot of decisions, economical, partnership, and etc. We're not happy with it, but they can have with Russians, but not about this war without us. And that's why, and I think that what we need very closely to work and quicker, I think we'll lose time now, quicker to work on the plan, common plan. So we're ready because the United States is our, the biggest strategic partner. We are ready not only to share our plan, we're ready for common plan with the President Trump. And of course we need support from EU, it's important. They are also big donors during this war, and we will be the members of future European Union. That's why we need the support of Europe. And this common plan we have to discuss with Russians, and we will. And at the table, it's very important to hear America, Europe, Ukraine, and Russia. Yes.
Boy, someone led him to believe that he's in a driver's seat. And he goes to NBC to do his negotiating for him. Our corrupt news agencies I call him the enemy. You can call Russia the enemy. You can call them all the enemy, whatever you want. This guy in particular, sadly, the Ukrainian people, what innocent Ukrainian people, this guy is the enemy. And Trump knows, look, Putin can wipe them out. They all talk about Putin underestimated Ukraine, all the above. Putin can continue to wipe out Ukraine if they choose to. This war is over. Ukraine doesn't stand a chance. We're not sending any more money. The American people will not stand up for it. He is calling for a European army, okay? A European army. Now, I'm going to get out. I have to get out. I have to go to a meeting. I have to be at a meeting. The shock and all, they're upset. They're losing their mind over, give me video 8.
Rubio in his first Sunday show interview since taking office. Newly confirmed Trump administration officials took the president's shock and awe tour overseas last week. In Munich, the vice president blasted some of America's closest allies about their style of democracy.
The threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within.
Also on the agenda,
the threat from within. That's what I'm worried about. J.D. Vance gave an amazing speech, 28 minutes long or 18 or whatever. Listen to the entire speech. It's an amazing speech. It also answers last week when they wanted you to believe that Trump said no at the Super Bowl. Is he the heir apparent? No. Oh my God. Oh my God. Listen, Trump would not let J.D. Vance, the vice president of the United States, on the world stage to make that speech. All right. When they said, hey, what did you think of that? What did you think of that speech J.D. Vance made? Give me video 11. I want you to hear Trump before I go.
The threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values, values shared with the United States of America. For years, we've been told that everything we fund and support is in the name of our shared democratic values. Everything from our Ukraine policy to digital censorship is billed as a defense of democracy. But when we see European courts canceling elections and senior officials threatening to cancel others, we ought to ask whether we're holding ourselves to an appropriately high standard. And I say ourselves because I fundamentally believe that we are on the same team. We must do more than talk about democratic values. We must live them.
Vice President Vance's speech to the conference has ruffled quite a few feathers in Europe.
What did he say to ruffle them?
He was talking about the freedom of speech and migration in Europe. Do you believe that European leaders have a fundamentally different view of the world than this administration's?
Well, I heard his speech, and I tell you, you're talking about JD's speech, right?
Yes, sir.
I heard his speech, and he talked about freedom of speech, and I think it's true in Europe. It's losing. They're losing their wonderful right of freedom of speech. I see it. I mean, I thought he made a very good speech, actually, a very brilliant speech. Yeah. And Europe has to be careful. And he talked about immigration. And Europe has a big immigration problem. Just take a look at what's happened with crime. Take a look at what's happening in various parts of Europe. I thought his speech was very well received, actually. I've heard very good remarks.
Yep. I thought it was well received. Did Trump put J.D. Vance on the world stage in front of Germany and others? Yes. All right, folks, I'm your host, BKP. The next time you see me, I will be in Studio B. Now, if you're new to the show and you don't know what Studio B or where Studio B is located, I will let you know soon. But the next time you see me, I will be in Studio B. Now, Diane's going to drive this ship for just a little bit. Hang on. I don't know what she has planned, but she'll do a great job. Folks, we'll be right back after these brief messages.
Days Chevrolet Jasper is North Georgia's business elite commercial truck giant. Box trucks, landscape trucks, flatbed and heavy hauling trucks. When you've got a job to do, we've got the commercial truck for you. And get a federal tax credit up to 100% of the purchase price. Hundreds of commercial trucks are all right here at Days Chevrolet Jasper. Days Chevrolet. Days gets it done. Together, let's drive.
Body Shop in Ellijay. Family owned and operated since 1978. The latest in cutting-edge digital technology and state-of-the-art equipment allow our iCard Gold Class certified technicians to restore your vehicle. Our second-to-none customer service will work directly with your insurance company. Major accident or minor fender bender, we take the dents out of accidents. Larry's Body Shop, North Georgia's #1 body shop. Visit us at collisiondecision.com.
Why give your money to liberal media companies? Put your marketing needs in the hands of a conservative marketing professional and start getting results today. FYN Media Group, one of the top digital marketing agencies in Georgia, specializes in website design and hosting, social media promotion and management, and so much more. Visit FYNmediagroup.com or call 706-889-3564 for a free consultation.
Ladies, when you wear elegant jewelry, you become a force to be reckoned with. You shine brighter than the stars in the sky, and your inner beauty radiates like the sun. So embrace the magic, embrace the elegance, and let your jewelry be a reflection of your true, authentic self. My friends over at North Georgia Diamond know what a woman wants. Go see them for the perfect gift. And remember, when it comes to elegance, there's no such thing as too much. Come see us at North Georgia Diamond. We're igniting passion one sparkle at a time.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
This is a special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
Mesquite Grill, now offering online ordering for your convenience. Check out our new website at mesquitegrillbr.com. That's mesquitegrillbr.com. The great food and service you have come to expect, ready for you when you arrive. Open 7 days a week with a fully stocked bar and friendly service. Bring your furry friends with you and dine on our pet-friendly patio. Also, check out our catering options and let us prepare delicious food for your next event.
So as some of you know, I had the event this past weekend with Rhonda Thomas coming to LJ. I wanted to record it and play it this morning, but we had some other people come and really just want to cause some troubles, to say the least. So the video wasn't worth even saving or anything because there was a lot of arguments, couldn't hear anything. Rhonda really had to scrap her presentation and go into what social emotional learning is. So today, Rhonda gave me a lot of resources Saturday that I'm going to show you kind of what social emotional learning is if you don't understand. But we had Rhonda on our show a while back, and she said some things that I think it's worth revisiting. So let me pull up the video and then we're gonna play it, and then I'll come back and do some explaining. So we'll play this video and then go to commercial after this video is done, and then I'll come back in and kind of lay some groundwork of social emotional learning. So I hope you enjoy this. I don't know if I'm going to play the whole thing, but it's going to be a good portion of it, because she says this was a really, really good video. She says a lot of, makes a lot of great points, and I think it's well worth the listen. So just bear with me while I set it up for you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Brian.
Well, I like the opening truth in education. And Rhonda, we have laid the groundwork here for quite some time. We call it the double T. America's looking for people they could trust, and they're looking for the truth. And I feel good with our viewers that when I bring you on in the organization Truth in Education, that our viewers are getting accurate information concerning the subject matter that you guys work on. So there's two areas I want to go in. Thank you for taking your time. I want to go into two. I'm going to give you three areas. I just said two, okay, but I added another one. All right. President, I would like you to comment. President Donald Trump has made a lot of comments. When elected, he will get rid of the Department of Education. I want to hear in Truth of Education, your organization, if your team thinks that's a plus or a minus, and how you look at that. That's number one. Number two, the DNC ban books. I watched it. And I that upset me, and I said, I got to call Rhonda. We know all we want to do is take pornography out. We know that we have parents that have gone to school board meetings that the school board rules did not allow them to read from the books that they got out of the library because of the rules of not being able to read pornography. It's the strangest thing. But the reality, I want you to clear up the whole banned books and what we really want to see where that's concerned with our children. And last but not least, if you want to comment on, if we have time, RFK, I think it goes together with education because of our food system and our children and them being healthy. He has come out, RFK Jr., and endorsed Donald Trump, and he is running with Make America Healthy Again, especially talking about our children. So those are three areas. And I tell you what, I'm going to get out of the way. And if you'll take them 1, 2, 3, I appreciate it.
Okay, Brian, those are all connected. You're right. And so let's start with the Department of Ed. Obviously, no one wants the Department of Ed. It needs to be gone. It's overreaching. The purpose of it is not a positive purpose. It's controlling. It's to bring in policies that are really against everything we're doing. Look at the book banning, as they call it. It isn't book banning, obviously, but the Department of Ed needs to go, just like all the teacher unions need to go. They all have too much control, and we need to get rid of all of them. The NEA, the PTA, people would be shocked to know that the PTA is aligned with the National Education Association. All of these unions, they're all working to the same end. We need to get rid of all of them. In fact, we recommend if you have a PTA in your school that you bring in a PTO. It is a totally different animal, and it's much more favorable and does not send money to a union. So we'd like to recommend that. I think that's very important. As far as the book banning goes, of course, we know that's a lie. We are not banning books.
Rhonda froze up there. Did we her feed?
Yeah.
Huh?
She froze up.
Can we try to get her to reset? Yeah, and we just got into book banning, as they call it. You just got into that before your feed froze up. So if you take it from there.
Yes, we are not banning books. Those books can still be purchased. That's just a buzzword that they're using for their constituents to build that. But obviously, we are not banning them. In fact, what we're doing is trying to protect not only parental rights, but our children. It's always been known in society that if something is not age appropriate and your brain is not developed enough to comprehend something, then it's going to cause harm. And that's what we're actually doing. They cannot process this pornography and the bestiality and everything that's being given to them. It's really child abuse. So we used to actually hold child abusers accountable, and we don't do that anymore. So it's very important for people to realize that this is not book banning. It's protecting our children from not only mental health, but from addictions. This confuses them. All the values that we've taught our children as parents, our values are being eroded because this is being brought in, and it's very confusing to them what's happening. In fact, a Barna study showed that a child's worldview begins forming between 15 and 18 months. By the time they're 13, it's pretty much in place and can't be changed. So that is why this age group is being hit so hard with all of this ideology and this pornography and the Marxism and the activism, because they know this is the age group that is the most vulnerable to this. So that is the purpose. And we have to realize that. And we need to step up as parents because this causes trauma in our children. So why are we bringing school-based health clinics in? Because we are creating a crisis. And now we're putting money into these school-based health clinics to fill them with psychiatrists and psychologists. So they're actually harming our children psychologically and emotionally. And I believe it's intentional. We know it is. So they're used, it's critical theory. These books are used to cause strife, and it's intergenerational strife in the family. And critical theory is being used for their age group instead of skin color differences or economic differences. It's just that whole psychological abuse that they're doing to our children. And we all know that sexual abuse and sexual addiction is the granddaddy of all addictions. And so it causes all kinds of, it actually releases chemicals in their brain. So it's a body addiction, and it's a chemical dependency, and it sets them up for the rest of their lives with this. So there's so much going on here. And you know, if you really want to get down to it, it's spiritual warfare. They're actually introducing them to demonic spirits. This is spiritual warfare. it's a shame-based identity also, which sets them up for other mental health issues. So this is very deep. One of the things that we've been speaking on recently and researching is the spirituality in our schools. Social emotional learning is a worldview. It is new age. And so if you put all this together, they are breaking down the family. They are breaking down their values. They are confusing them. This is not just the books. It's a very big picture of everything that's happening within the schools. So we really have a lot going on there. Our children are truly under such oppression. And we as parents need to be aware of that.
All right. So you hit on a couple things. Last week, I got emotional, and I do from time to time. I watched the DNC, because you've hit on a couple buttons, use Pete Buttigieg to try to sell that is normal. That is normal. Mm-hmm. That is a normal marriage. That is the new normal. Those are the new normal parents. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to leave it at that. And I tell people on the show all too often, you got to understand, when you say spiritual warfare, I'll say, it's all about the creator, and they're trying to alter the creation.
Yes.
That's what they're doing every day.
That's exactly it. Every day. This is about, in their view, getting rid of God. And they can do that, they believe, by getting rid of the family, which starts with the children. And that's what's happening.
All right. So before we get to our last segment, you gave me a lot. I want to unpack it. Banning books. They just say banning books as though they want us or you to believe out there that we want to ban a book that you can't go to Amazon and buy, you can't go to the bookstore and buy, or you cannot read ever again. And that is not true. We're not having book burning sessions. What we're talking about, and this is where I really want corrected if I get anything in this wrong, what we're talking about is your tax money, your public library, and age-appropriate material in your public library that you have tax money, but that library being in the center, the media center of your child's school. And that's just the bottom line. And we want to stop. We want to protect our children and not have them go from the 4th grade to the library and pick out a book that's not appropriate for them to be reading. If their parents go to a bookstore after school and buy that book, that's your freedom. We're not trying to ban books. We are trying to protect children within the education system. Unpack that for me. What do I have wrong there? Or correct me. I'm open to it.
You have it all right, Brian. I think where we have shifted is away.
Once again, I think where we have shifted. So let's get her back in. I don't know if she's having some.
So
we were talking about protecting our children in the school.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So this is about parental rights, but what's really happened is we've shifted from the rights of the parent to the rights of the child. So that UN treaty, the rights of the child, is actually coming into play here. So we are looking at these children as adults, really, that they should be able to make their own decisions. So what does the UN say? They're sexual at birth. So that's what they're looking at. They're looking at the rights of the child. They don't care about the rights of the parents. And again, this is just a breakdown of society, which we know the Marxist agenda is. But this is definitely not about freedom. It's about freedom for the parents to step in and use their God-given authority to protect their children, and not only from books, but everything else. So you're right on target. This is not about banning books. I think that word conjures up history, right? When you use the word ban, it causes people to think of book burning and all of this. It's happened, things that have happened in the past, where in fact today that is not what we're talking about. We're talking about protecting children. These books are not banned. You still have the freedom to go buy them. We just don't want them in the middle of our children's schools because they are not capable. Do you know that teen suicide is up 22%? 22%. That is a huge jump. And that is because of depression. And what is causing that? It's lots of stimuli, I know, but a lot of it's happening in our schools.
Well, what happens is these books that are not appropriate for children, children can go to the school library. We only want to, when I say remove, we only want to take out of taxpayer libraries, taxpayer supported libraries. Okay. Pornographic material that children can get a hold of and read. And at the same time, I'll say it like this, it leaves them confused. And that is what's happening to our children. It leaves them confused. And if they tell the teacher, I'm confused, the teacher gives them a hall pass and says, maybe you should go see the school counselor, because we have a whole division of mental health counselors in our public school now. And then you go to the school counselor and the kid says, I'm confused. And they call the parents in and say, your child's confused. And then they say, but if you don't support your child, we'll have to look at it a little different, because you do realize not supporting your child increases the rate of suicide. So do you want your child alive? That's how they scare parents into this. You're going to say, oh, all this from a book? No, I'm not saying all this from a book, but it's all connected. I got to get out of the way. So
it is all connected. And Brian, this has a lot to do with the mental health bills that we've passed. It also has to do with the fact, let's look at this from a mental health standpoint. At the age of 13, a child in Georgia can make their own, without the parent, mental health decisions and drug addiction decisions. In some states, it's inpatient and outpatient. In Georgia, it's just outpatient. So what happens now, our mental health bills are aligned with all of Biden's executive orders. And we know a lot of those executive orders are geared toward the LGBTQ, transgenderism, all of that. So everything that happens. So if a child goes to the school counselor and says, I'm confused about my sex, I want to start on hormones, guess what? That falls under mental health. But all mental health now falls under behavioral health. What is not behavioral? So now they don't have to go to the parent. They can automatically start helping this child by either sending them out for what they need, which we know Planned Parenthood is doing all this now, or if they have that within their clinic. So I don't think parents understand what they've lost, and especially are losing more of their rights as these clinics come in. So you're right. Many times the parents aren't told, but you are right. This is not one thing. It's not the book. It's everything. It's trauma. We have a psychologist on our board, and he was saying if a child goes to school and their best friend decides they're a boy instead of a girl, that's a hit of trauma. If a boy goes into the girl's bathroom, it is a hit of trauma. He explains that they're experiencing trauma all day long. Look at the furries. That's not normal, right? So they are experiencing anxiety, and it's at high levels. And he said over time, they cannot maintain it. So he is seeing more children in his office. He used to see a child that cut maybe once every 3 or 4 months. He said it's every week now. He's seeing children with PTSD, something that appears as bipolar, but it isn't. He said, in fact, he just spoke this past week in our event, and he said what social emotional learning and the things that are happening in our school is doing is giving him a huge business, because he is seeing the effects of what's taking place in our schools, and of course does not agree with any of it. So this is a big picture. It's not just the books. But what do the books do? They bring empathy into our schools. Empathy is not compassion. Compassion is biblical. Empathy is being used with our children to teach them to literally step in their friend's shoes and carry their burden. So that creates tolerance. How can you not agree with someone when you're actually almost like being one? You're carrying that. So there's so much going on within that system that is psychological. It's all psychological warfare. And so it is a huge net of things that are being pulled together to cause trauma in our children, which what does that do? it tells these mental health organizations they can get more money to bring into the schools because they see the trauma increasing in our children when we're actually causing it. So you're right. It's not one thing, it's many things, but it's all psychological and it's being used. It's a weapon. And it is stealth. It's very stealth, this SEL is. I'll tell you that. And I'll tell you why. Because my son has listened to me forever. He understands it to a degree, but he and his wife were listening to a podcast for parenting, and I went, "Oh my goodness, that sounds familiar." So I went and looked, and it's social.
So close. All right. So, I try not to use the program as in a religious way.
Yes.
But I can't get away from who I am. Now, I watched, when you said spiritual warfare, I watched the DNC, and I watched how they continually said darkness, calling us darkness. Okay, I watched that, and that resonated. And then I heard them talk about banned books, and I want to go with this and just lay this out. I don't mean to put you in a spot, but everyone that came to the podium and said banned books, they would do it in a laughter kind of way. They would do it in a way that they were mocking us, all right, in laughter, knowing that wasn't what was happening. And, I heard all of them talk about us being the party, and yes, laughter. And I would think, they mocked and laughed at Noah building an ark. He said it was going to rain. And I'm sitting there the other night at the DNC, and I said, they mocked and laughed at us saying, when Christ was being crucified, where is your Savior now? And I'm sorry, I just get emotional over that because I watch them, and I call it demonic, laugh and mock what we're trying to do to protect children. And that's really scary that this is a party, and I'm not trying to be partisan here, but this is a party that's advocating something that does not protect our children. And parents are looking to legislators to return their God-given rights. Parents need to wake up and realize they have their God-given rights, and it's not to legislators to give them back. Okay, I'm going to get out of the way. I could get worked up there.
So, Brian, I'm right there with you. We are not going to win this battle through as a Christian, we are not going to win this battle through legislation. We've already seen that. There has not been a bill at the Capitol that has supported and protected our children. Why this book discussion would never be happening if our legislators would pass the bill that removes right now K through 12 media centers are exempt from the obscenity exemption.
Exactly.
That bill has been down there for years. So I want to say to them, they fear man or they fear God, because they are not protecting our children. I don't know how they sleep at night knowing our children are being raped every day mentally through this pornography. This would not be happening if that bill would get passed. So last year it was last session, SB 154, and they weren't even pushing it to get it passed. So every year this happens. So this wouldn't even be a discussion if we pass that bill. So why is that not happening? I think
K through 12 media centers. I knew this was going to happen when I got you on here. K through 12 media centers, all right, are smack dab in the center of your school. Most parents think it's innocent. Most parents go down the hall, and this is not negative to you, the parents. You go down the hall, it says media center. Your children are going down there for their media 3 times a week, story time. It all seems innocent. The books are in that media center. Then you flip over to taxpayer, and they come over and they tell you, oh, you've got to pass this e-splost. It pays for these enormous, beautiful new schools. Okay, you might agree with that. And then you say the e-splost pays for these enormous, beautiful new schools. It's your tax money that pays for it, that builds the media center in the middle that you don't have any rights over. It is.
That's right.
You have no rights over that media center. You, mom and dad, can't say, oh, I want. No, it falls under the library system of Georgia, which is exempt from stopping these books from being. Tell me I'm wrong. Correct me, but I knew that was going to happen.
So K through 12 in public libraries and universities are exempt from the obscenity law. That law has been there to protect children, and it is not doing it any longer. And this could be stopped by a bill put forth by our legislators, which we have done. And I want to tell you that when we go back to the bills that have been written, SB 140 that passed, that was the transgender bill that was supposed to stop surgeries. I don't think parents understand that there are no consequences for that doctor. So that bill is a very weak bill. Clint Dixon actually had a stronger bill, but they chose the weaker bill. And so even though we passed that bill, parents need to understand there's no consequences for the doctor. So that is not a strong bill. So I don't see any bills at the moment that are being passed at the Capitol that have any teeth that actually come back and protect the parents. And I attended the American School Counseling Association's conference last year. And in one of the breakout sessions, they literally said, our ethical duty is above the law. If we cannot use pronouns, we'll use nicknames. If we can't talk gender, we'll saturate our room in it. You cannot legislate against that. This is a spiritual warfare. You cannot legislate against that because they are as strong and radical on what they believe, and they are going to push for it. So we can't legislate against this stuff. It is a heart issue. But there are bills that could be passed that could support us and help us. And one of those is that obscenity exemption. One is making sure doctors are held accountable if they perform these surgeries. So we as citizens really need to get active and get after our legislators. We should be calling them every week, saying, if you're going to work on these bills, make sure that they are bills that are actually going to protect us, because the ones that have passed so far are very weak bills. And I'm becoming more passionate about this because there is a sense of urgency in our nation, and we don't have time. We don't have the 30 years that the women, even before us, have pushed to get that obscenity law changed. We don't have that time any longer. We are so grateful for Superintendent.
Let's get her back in.
So yes.
Let's say this, and I want to make sure, because I don't want to do 30 minutes and just sound negative. We do appreciate each and every one around the state. There are several teachers that are coming forward. There's administrators saying, hey, this is not right. There's superintendents around the state that's saying, nah, I don't think so. So we do want to give a shout out of appreciation for the ones that are protecting the children, are there to educate the children, and feel this is not appropriate for our children in the media center. So we want to give that. I want to close with this, and I want to say this also. I want to give a shout out to Truth in Education. We have, with multiple other people across the state, we have fought, and that's the only way we can put it, and we hope you're doing it in your state. We have fought right here in Georgia mental health bills for the past several legislative sessions, and I mean fought. I mean, we've gotten lawmakers at 4 a.m, 10 p.m. We've read every sentence. The only way we have held some of it back are great organizations like this. I personally have done work with lawmakers, brought attention to it, and so many of you across the state. I want to end with this. I've got to get you back, but you said something I got to go back to. We'll get into the health of our children on another segment. Okay. You said we got to get rid of, we talked about the board of, or the national education. Okay. The National
NEA?
Department of National of Education. We talked about that. Now, you said we have to get rid of it. I agree. But there's two things I want to ask you when you say that. You get some people that push back. So let's go back. Jimmy Carter put the Department of Education in place. We know that. I think it was 1978. Was it 1978? But it's somewhere around the end there. Okay. And one of the things was to standardize America. And we're not picking on Mississippi. We love our friends there. But if you were in this state that had really good funding from education and you could do certain things, a third grader reading at this level in Mississippi or West Virginia, and we love our friends, relax, may not be at that level. And they didn't have the money and the tax revenue to do what this state was doing. So that was some of the argument that was made, was parity, standardizing, and having every child in America with the opportunity to be in the third grade and read at a third grade level. How do we protect that? And I'm not saying that's what happened, but you know what we were sold. If we get rid of the Department of Education, how do we protect that if we send it all back to the states?
So I think that we will be in better shape. The Board of Education has been in existence for these years, as you said. Our reading level, our math levels, everything is down. Nothing has improved. So what you're saying as one of their initiatives was to make sure that everybody was on equal standing and could read and write and all. We're not doing that. We've done just the opposite. So we have to ask now, what is the true meaning and purpose of the Board of Education? Look what they've done with Title IX. They're weaponized. We need to get rid of them. And so it needs to come back to the state because the state will have more control. And I believe that our monies hopefully will be spent wiser. And it's really not even a money issue anymore, Brian. Look at the money we're pouring into education. And our children have been dumbed down so much. So they're not getting smarter, but we are making sure that their mental health is okay. The money is going into mental health now and not into educating our children. You will never, hardly ever hear anyone speak of math, science, reading. It's all mental health, behavior, discipline. So the Board of Education has failed what they were set out to do because our children are not learning. And it doesn't matter what state you're in. I'm in Milton, Georgia, and I would guarantee you they're not even doing as well as they did a few years ago. So I think we need to get rid of them and bring it all back to the state. And they have been weaponized just like the teachers unions and every other organization and NGO out there that's coming against our children.
It's like every government agency, they tell us what the intention is and what the upside could be. But it's never that, and that's never what it turns out to be. So they told us the upside of that, and I think you're 100% right because, we live in a state. We have some national viewers and international viewers, but we live in a state where our lawmakers continue to go out and do press conferences, and they brag and brag and brag about funding education and increased funding in education. And truthfully, that funding is really not going into the reading and writing, and as they used to say, arithmetic. That's not going into the basics. It's really going into mental health and different, being able to fund counselors and being able to fund different areas of our school system, and not quite the increase in education funding, right? They lead us to believe that they've done these great things, but that's not truly what happens.
So, Brian, you brought up a good point. We have yoga teachers in our school who are teaching mindfulness. No, but let me tell you, one of them started out at $92,000 a year, a yoga teacher, Forsyth County. But every county has them. So yes, that's where our monies are being wasted to bring in all this mental health services, the clinics. Hey, why would the Walton Family Foundation pour so much money into charter schools?
Charter schools. Get her back. I have to close. Get her back. We have to close. I can't say just.
Children have become for profit, not for education. There you go.
Okay. In interest of, we've been able to keep this intact. I just want to say this. I want one more because you caught me off guard with something. Yes, you caught me off guard with something. Now we'll call it 1970 for argument's sake. Okay, we'll just call it 1970. All right. And if you understand this, well, I think you will. In the what we called the Gymicafetorium, before we built enormous gymnasiums, enormous auditoriums, and enormous lunchrooms. Us older people had this thing called Gymicafetorium, okay? So we'll call it 1970 at the Gymicafetorium. I will put myself there. You're too young to remember that.
No, I'm not, unfortunately.
So I'm going somewhere. PTA. And I resonate this like it's yesterday. I resonate my mom letting my dad know before he left for work, because she couldn't text him. She couldn't put it on social media, whatever. You better not be late. Tonight is parent-teacher conference. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, I remember that night, 1970, where every mom and every dad, they had chairs lined against the wall, assembled for the PTA meeting at the Gymicafetorium. They discussed teachers they wanted to hire, whatever. Now, on that day, was that the good day of the PTA, and it switched? Because you said PTO, so I want people to understand, because I have to tell you, my memory goes back to PTA, and my memory goes back to every parent almost involved in the school. You couldn't get another seat. Yes. And PTA actually doing what we remember 1970 as good work. What happened there, and what is PTO?
So PTO is parent-teacher organization, and I really encourage people and parents to look into it and advocate that for their schools. Brian, the people in your school that are volunteering for the PTA are good parents. They don't know where this money is going and what the PTA is involved in. So I want to encourage them to go to their site and start researching it. And they'll see that they have a legislative agenda also, and it's tied to the National Education Association and all these other groups. So, but again, just like you said earlier, most teachers, librarians, they don't want this stuff. They're stuck. And so we need to pray for those teachers and those librarians and anyone in the schools that are stuck there and can't get out, and they don't agree with what's happening. But back to the PTA, it's the same thing. These parents are volunteering because they love their children and they believe they're doing good things, and they are, because the PTA still does support good things within your school. It's their legislative agenda that's the issue. So I want to encourage people to go and to research it for themselves. I think that's very important, so they can see, and to also look at the PTO, the parent-teacher organization, and see what the differences are.
Okay, so we have to get out. We've gone long. I appreciate this. I appreciate your time and powering through. Great information as always. Do you have any announcements with Truth in Education, or anything you want to direct our viewers to keep up with what you have going on?
We are working on a couple of bills at the Capitol, a bill at the moment. So we'll let people know as that comes forward. We also are trying to work with churches. So, Brian, we worked with a really large church in Atlanta to introduce them to a Christian school model, because they've started a school. They were actually given a school. So we want to not only teach on what's happening in our schools, the destruction that's happening in our schools, but we want to come up with solutions. So our solution is we are trying to get into churches and pray with them, educate them, and let them know what's happening in the schools, and get them to pray about starting a co-op, a hybrid, a Christian school. And then again, we are also encouraging them, and this is another talk, another day, to be careful not to take school choice money, voucher money. So there's a trap there. So we really are trying to educate on all of that. And I speak nationally. We do trainings. So we just had our huge education conference at First Baptist Atlanta this past Saturday. And we had James Lindsay was coming, but he got an invitation to go to Korea. So we interviewed him. But Alex Newman and Rebecca Friedrichs, who actually sued the NEA and won that case that teachers don't have to pay dues. So we are all about educating, helping parents protect their rights. So we need volunteers. We need people who like to research, speak. We are helping people work on school boards and educating them on it. But our main focus now is research, educating, working with legislators, trying to get into churches, because this is spiritual. There is a world religion being taught in our schools, and nobody knows it. And it is anti-God, anti-Christian, and anti-country.
I want to say 4 years ago, but 3 years ago, I was invited on a Saturday morning over to Gainesville to a presentation. It lasted almost 3 hours. I drove over there on a Saturday morning. I sat in the back of the room, and I was just shocked, because what they did is they read passages. They had different people around the room read passages out of books that I was disgusted being in the room. I was embarrassed being in the room with other ladies in the room or other people. And what they did is people went to the microphone and read passages, showed the book, and said, you can get this in our media center in our school. And I don't want to say that, well, yeah, that kind of opened my eyes. That was the first real example I got. So don't hesitate, anything where I should be sitting in the back of the room listening, where I can help anyway, please don't hesitate to let me know. I'll do everything I can to just go sit in the back of the room. I appreciate you. You have a wonderful day. Thank you for coming in and helping us with, or putting aside, the whole book banning. Rhonda Thomas, Truth and Education, we appreciate you very much.
Thank you, Brian.
All right.
Days Chevrolet Jasper is North Georgia's business elite commercial truck giant. Box trucks, landscape trucks, flatbed and heavy hauling trucks. When you've got a job to do, we've got the commercial truck for you. And get a federal tax credit up to 100% of the purchase price. Hundreds of commercial trucks are all right here at Days Chevrolet Jasper. Days Chevrolet. Days gets it done. Together, let's drive.
Body Shop in Ellijay. Family owned and operated since 1978. The latest in cutting-edge digital technology and state-of-the-art equipment allow our iCard Gold Class certified technicians to restore your vehicle. Our second-to-none customer service will work directly with your insurance company. Major accident or minor fender bender, we take the dents out of accidents. Larry's Body Shop, North Georgia's #1 body shop. Visit us at collisiondecision.com.
Why give your money to liberal media companies? Put your marketing needs in the hands of a conservative marketing professional and start getting results today. FYN Media Group, one of the top digital marketing agencies in Georgia, specializes in website design and hosting, social media promotion and management, and so much more. Visit FYNmediagroup.com or call 706-889-3564 for a free consultation.
Ladies, when you wear elegant jewelry, you become a force to be reckoned with. You shine brighter than the stars in the sky, and your inner beauty radiates like the sun. So embrace the magic, embrace the elegance, and let your jewelry be a reflection of your true, authentic self. My friends over at North Georgia Diamond know what a woman wants. Go see them for the perfect gift. And remember, when it comes to elegance, there's no such thing as too much. Come see us at North Georgia Diamond. We're igniting passion one sparkle at a time.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
This is a special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
Mesquite Grill, now offering online ordering for your convenience. Check out our new website at mesquitegrillbr.com. That's mesquitegrillbr.com. The great food and service you have come to expect, ready for you when you arrive. Open 7 days a week with a fully stocked bar and friendly service. Bring your furry friends with you and dine on our pet-friendly patio. Also, check out our catering options and let us prepare delicious food for your next event.
All right, so to recap, a lot of what Rhonda said in the last segment was that they're saying that children are sexual at birth, which we know is far from the truth. Teen suicide is up 22% because of depression and what is happening in our schools. We have mental health division in our schools. Now they're helping them with the confusion that they're generating because they're trying to make the kids accept things that they're not developed enough to accept. And at the age of 13, in Georgia, the child can make their own decisions on mental health. Our mental health is aligned with the Biden, back then, which it's still continuing, the mental health in our schools is aligned with Biden's executive orders. That's all LGBTQ. Even though Trump has stopped it, I believe enough of it is still embedded into our systems that it's going to be hard to uncouple that. So mental health is considered behavioral health, or what they're saying is behavioral health is mental health. So the kids are experiencing trauma all day long in school. They're being diagnosed with PTSD. Remember, Rhonda said that one of the psychologists would come across a cutter, a child that would cut themselves one in every 2 to 3 months. Now it's becoming a weekly thing. But they're having PTSD because of this SEL, social emotional learning. It's not just in the book. It's not just the books. It's bringing empathy into our schools to step into their friends' shoes and understand what they're going through. It brings in tolerance that results in the trauma. It's a psychological weapon, allowing more money to be brought into the schools because of all the trauma. SEL is very stealthy and a spiritual warfare. In addition, so the Board of Education has failed to educate our children. Our children are becoming a profit business, and they're bringing in a world religion that is being taught in our schools that's anti-religion, anti-God, anti-country, and anti-family. Okay, so let's go over some charts and graphs. Then we're going to compare ourselves here in these first few slides to other countries. So you see United States is number 6. As far as the most educated. Now, this is considering the college rate. So it's not really talking about high school or other schools. This is talking about college completion rate. So Canada, of course, is number one. Russia, Japan, Luxembourg, and then South Korea, and the United States is number 6. This is about the only thing I could find that was over the whole globe. And then this is education by ranking, and I click the IQ average. We're pretty far down on the list. I think we're number number 29 for IQ in the world. So there's 28 countries that are ahead of us on IQ. And China is number 5, Japan is number 1, Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, and then China. And then so this is the UN ranking for schools, education. South Korea is number 1, Denmark. And if you go up here, United States is now ranked 31, but we have been ranked 1. And in 2024, we were ranked number 31. So you can see that we're falling. I mean, we know we're falling. And then here is the national rank. Nationally, 4th grade mathematics scores, on average, it's gone up. And these are the percentiles. The kids in the 90th percentile have gone up. 75th and 50th have gone up, and these have stayed the same. In 8th grade, we've got some kids that have fallen down, and we've got some kids that have gone up, which means we've stayed the same on average. Our reading, we're falling. 4th grade and 8th grade, we're falling. And that's just an overview. And then we can look at the state, and we can see that in math, the average is 237, and Georgia is 236. We're only 1 point behind, but with that being the national average, and we saw back here that the national average is up slightly for 4th graders and staying the same. Us being a little bit lower is not saying a whole lot. And this is 4th grade. I think I can get in there. I'm not going to go any much deeper because I could probably, there it is. So this is 8th grade. And it looks like it's going to take a minute to load. Average is 272, and Georgia is 269. 12th grade in mathematics. Oh, and look, that's 2013. Let's go. Oh, that's the last score that we have is 2013. We don't have any other scores. We don't even have a score for Georgia for 2013, so in grade 12. So this is the nation's report card. You can go and play around and touch base and see what you can find. So this is the U.S. Deputy Secretary, State of Our Schools from September 30th, 2019. And I just wanted to go ahead and play this, and he's going to talk about basically how our education system has fallen. So let's take a listen.
Which is called America's Report Card. reports that two-thirds, get this, two-thirds of American 8th graders are not proficient in any core subject. There's a standardized international assessment called PISA, the Program for International Student Assessment. It's administered to 15-year-olds around the world. And since it was first administered in the year 2000, American students' ranking has been steadily declining. Right now, our students, 15-year-old students, are ranked 24th in the world in reading comprehension, behind such countries as Estonia and New Zealand. Our students are 25th in the world in their knowledge of science, behind Slovenia and Vietnam. And our students are 40th in the world in their understanding of mathematics, behind Russia and Malta. Now, compare that to when the United States finishes 4th in the Winter Olympics. The American people are incensed. But we're 40th in the world in mathematics, and what happens? Well, here's what happens. Affluent families enroll their children in private schools. Middle-income families move to the suburbs in the highly ranked school districts. And America's forgotten students languish in failing and underperforming schools with no power to do anything about it.
So that was in 2019. And we know what happened in 2020, COVID. Many schools across the nation were shut down, and which further put our students behind. And no promise that they'll ever be able to regain their inefficiencies. So Rhonda talked a lot about SEL, social emotional learning, and what I want to do is I want to play a video that's contrary to social emotional learning. This is Providence Foundation. This is one of the links that Rhonda has shared with me, and it basically gives a overview of what education used to be and should be. So let's take a listen to this video.
It is a big mistake to think of the academic or intellectual realm as having little or no effect on everyday life. This has been a serious shortcoming of the Church. For over 150 years, we have abdicated our responsibility to speak truth in the intellectual and academic realm.
School board, I quit. I quit your policies.
To remove ourselves from scholarship or from academia actually fails to serve and to love our brothers and sisters well.
Throughout much of world history, and certainly in American history, the church has been the driving force for intellectual development.
We birthed the American Republic on the back of private, Christian, and home education.
If you look at the founding of America and you look at the founding fathers, what drove them was this notion of religious freedom. And one of the things that they wanted to facilitate was that there would be education that would be driving people toward the Scriptures.
They were schooled in this kind of idea that we are shaped by the Scriptures, and it produced the great thinkers that founded America because they were rightly educated.
What you'll find in America was God's truth applied to every aspect of life, whether it was business or government or anything else. God tells us how best to operate in a way that is really good for us and is really good for those around us.
The reality is these days our culture is influencing the church more than the church is influencing the culture. The more that we can do to take back that ground, the better off everybody's going to be.
The reason the church and Christianity is not speaking to the academic and the intellectual issues of the day is because we now have multiple generations that have been educated without a Christian worldview, without biblical principles, without a biblical foundation to underpin that education.
I don't believe the churches are doing their jobs. We're not, as a church, in raising up parents that understand their responsibility in the education of their children.
If education is a biblical mandate and a biblical tenet, we need to be in charge of it, really.
Scripture has totally shaped our perspective on educating our children. When our children were very young, I realized that children are a gift from the Lord. I took that very seriously.
What is discipleship today? What do thinking people have to say in this modern world that's crazy fast, run by market forces, run by high-tech gizmos? What is discipleship there? That's the question we all need to ask ourselves. How do we glorify God the most? Through education.
Education is discipleship. The cultivation and the shaping of the mind is intrinsic to being disciples. A populace of disciples is necessary to maintain this experiment in individual liberty.
With the state of the public schools in our county, and it's particularly the schools that surround us, that are in our community, they are failing schools. Our congregation was concerned about that.
As I interviewed and as I was looking at the opportunity to join Buffalo in ministry, it was not just the school, but it was the heart behind it that really drew me to what God was doing in this place.
This is a time that everyone has to be in the game. Pastors, ministry leaders, business people, parents, grandparents. We need everybody, all hands on deck.
Enough is enough. You know, it's just like David said, is there not a cause? I say there is a cause. The cause of Christ, and it starts right at home. It starts right in our homes. And it's a rallying point for the church to see this as a mission of the church, to invest ourselves in shaping the hearts and minds of the children that the Lord entrusts to us to steward.
The need of the hour is for Christians to reclaim their duty and their role in making sure that their children have an education that is based on knowledge and wisdom. The Bible says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. If you have an education that doesn't start with that foundation, you don't have the right kind of education.
Parents have the right and responsibility to govern the education of their children. Early Americans not only taught their own children at home, but through church and private schools provided a biblical education for all citizens. This in turn produced the free nation of America. Christian education prepared citizens to love their neighbor, to govern themselves, to think biblically, and to pass on to posterity the worldview and character necessary to live free. However, the rise of government-controlled schools and secular education has produced a decline of moral and academic excellence, which has led to a loss of liberty. The solution is to restore the biblical education upon which America was built, to prepare citizens who are educated for liberty.
Okay, so we have to focus on biblical principles, but not only that, we have to start teaching our kids reading, writing, and arithmetic. They don't, and here's the next slide I want to show you. So all this SEL, let me see if I can make this a little bigger for you guys. I don't know if you can see that better. So the introduction of SEL, and remember, if Rhonda said if you take money from the state or federal, they put rules in. Well, when you're taking that money, you're taking the money and agreeing that you're going to abide by the rules that the state and the federal government apply. So, and SEL has become a nationwide, and SEL is social emotional learning, has become a nationwide endeavor in bringing all this psychological, spiritual warfare into our schools, traumatizing our children, and falling away from our founding principles, which was rooted in scripture and the biblical text. And if you see this chart, so the red line is government schools or public schools. The yellow line is actually traditional Christian schools. Because they're taking money from the governments, they're actually falling more into socialism. Public schools is already in socialism. Homeschools, they're rising more towards biblical theism, but they're comfortably in the Christianity portion of that chart. So, because Christian schools, although you feel like you're safe in Christian schools or private schools, but because they take that federal funding, they're falling into the socialism. They're falling in line with the SEL curriculum. And if you, like Rhonda was saying at the very end of the video, that if you take the funding for school choice and use that for homeschooling or whatnot, you're actually having to take the funding or having to use that funding for SEL and bringing that into your curriculum. So if you take the funding, you have to use approved curriculum resources, which has this stuff embedded. Now, on the surface, SEL and everything that they teach sounds good. But we're going to go into, so my next slide is from publicschoolexit.com. And so the top reasons to exit public schools. 1, indoctrination. They're indoctrinating our kids with or without your knowledge. It's a dangerous propaganda and ideology, and the goal is to turn them against God, church, family, country, morality, and more. While this problem has gotten worse over the decades, it has been true since government began taking over the education system under the leadership of utopians like Robert Owen, anyway, you get the... So dumbing down the public schools or dumbing down American children with... I looked up this pediology. That's such a weird... So methodology and pediology. Anyway, look that up. That's super, super weird. And the goal of leaving them handicapped when it comes to reading, writing, and reasoning. Sexualizing your children. I've talked about books before. You can go back in our Rumble channel and look at the books that are in the county that were in. I haven't double checked to see, but I have given the list of books that are in our library system in our county to our superintendent. I don't know, I haven't checked back to see if any of those books have been removed, but they're normalizing pedophilia in our schools and comprehensive sex education that's harmful for our kids. Data mining and profiling students. We have a bill right now in our legislature that wants to develop a database and I'll show you that, a database with mental health, attitudes, psychological makeup, biometric data, academic performances, home life, and much more in this database. And they're doing this in Georgia. And it's signed off by, or it's sponsored by our Speaker of the House. So that's something we need to look at, and I'll show you that at the end. Inmates of government schools, children in private schools, and homeschooling do much better than the government schools academically and socially. Globalist propaganda, the United Nations, in particular UN Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, are increasingly invading public school classrooms with globalist propaganda. Removing the parents' rights from their own children, government schools are increasingly infringing on parental rights. Education is not the responsibility of the government. The Bible speaks a great deal about education. Nowhere is there ever any suggestion that it is proper responsibility of the government. Bible clearly states the primary responsibility over education is the parents, and they're trying to take, like we said earlier, they're trying to take those parental rights. Teaching fake history and pseudoscience. The government schools are teaching fake history that is calculated to make them hate their country, their heritage, America's founding fathers, and biblical principles upon which America was founded. They also teach pseudoscience, calculated to have them reject God and His Word and embrace secularism, evolutionary beliefs, and man-made global warming hypothesis. Radical labor unions seek to crush freedom, Christianity, Americanism, and such as the National Education Association. NEA went into a partnership with extreme homosexual group Human Rights Campaign. Epidemic of violence and suicide. Rhonda told us that suicide is up 22%, and I remember the psychologist that said that, sorry about the dogs, the psychologist said that he's had cutters coming in weekly wanting to do self-harm. Epidemic of violence, depression, suicide, self-harm, murder, fornication, gangs, drug use in the schools is killing our children at alarming rates. Parents have no control, no discipleship, lack of morality, socialist agenda, creative thinking limited, so they're crushing the creative thinking. It's government controlled. Again, if you take money from the government, they're going to control what you can teach and how you can teach. Forced vaccinations, public or the safety of the child is at risk. Black Lives Matter curriculum, that's the critical race theory. Social emotional learning, which will go into that portion of it. The obscenities laws, they're allowing these transgender obscenities books into your schools through their media center. Our state is one that has schools exempt from the obscenities law, which allows criminal prosecution if you give this material to a child. Our school libraries are exempt from this, and our children are able to check it out without the knowledge of the parent. And then the list goes on. So what is social emotional learning? Let's take a look at this video right here.
What is social emotional learning? Broadly speaking, SEL refers to the process through which school children learn and apply a set of social, emotional, and related skills, attitudes, behaviors, and values that help direct their thoughts, feelings, and actions in ways to help them to succeed in school, work, and life. However, SEL has been defined in a variety of ways. The term has served as an umbrella for subfields of psychology and human development, dealing with emotion regulation, and many types of educational interventions such as bullying prevention, character education, and conflict resolution. As described by its originator, the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, or CASEL, SEL seeks to teach 5 major behavioral goals. These are self-management, managing emotions and behaviors to achieve one's goals. Self-awareness, recognizing one's emotions and values as well as one's strengths and challenges. Social awareness, showing understanding and empathy for others. Responsible decision-making, making ethical, constructive choices about personal and social behavior. Relationship skills, forming positive relationships, working in teams, and dealing effectively with conflict. Some may be asking, so what's the problem? It sounds so positive, so it should be good, right? Well, the proponents of SEL are very intentional in their use of terminology, causing parents to let their guard down. Parents must be aware of SEL's true use and intentions. We have 3 major objections to SEL. Number 1, school officials, not family members, take center stage in a child's development. Number 2, critical theory is the underlying worldview. Number 3, family personal privacy is invaded. Let us investigate each of these objections. School officials take center stage in child's development. CASEL's founders believed in supporting the whole child, a euphemism for government-based indoctrination. The teachers' unions have latched onto this idea and are driving it home with their billions of dollars in funding. The center of SEL is found within the circle of the classroom, then other school resources. Families show up a distant third place. They justify this by citing trends like growing rates of teen suicide and depression, concerns about the effects of social media, and other child stressors. But where is the evidence that schools are the best place to effect positive change in a child's life? Psychological counseling sessions led by our schools is not the answer. Critical theory is the underlying worldview. The goal of CASEL's founder, Tim Shriver, is to reshape schools into places that not only teach head, but teach heart. The question is, whose heart are they teaching? Because CASEL goes on to state that far from being concerned with cultivating traditional notions of character and virtue, SEL sets out to mitigate the interrelated legacies of racial and class oppression in the U.S. and globally. It seeks to critically examine root causes of inequity and develop justice-oriented global citizens. SEL programs are driven by woke ideology and ripe with social justice jargon. Nearpod, another provider of SEL curricula, teaches 6th graders that appreciating diversity means that we accept people for who they are and value their differences, including race, age, gender, and sexuality. Do our children need to value people based on their race or age? Absolutely. But how about based on gender or sexuality? Well, that depends. Probably not if you're a student of science, which supports a binary notion of human anatomy, and not the illusionary dream of infinite genders and the normalization of any sexual preferences. Do you see how easily SEL confuses our children? By conflating values similar to the Judeo-Christian worldview, which values all human life as being created in the image of God, but then appropriating that same value to advance ideologically driven concepts like infinite genders and fluid sexual preferences. Not surprising, since underpinning SEL is a social theory known as critical theory that is rooted in Marxism. Family personal privacy is invaded. Under SEL, schools engage children in woke therapy sessions through topics like social awareness, self-management, and responsible decision-making. As SEL advocate Dina Simmons has put it, what's the point of teaching children about conflict resolution skills if you're not talking about the conflicts that exist because of racism or white supremacy? But SEL goes even further. It invades the recesses of a child's inner life and records what's discovered there through intimate surveys, family life assessments, and class exercises designed to achieve doctrinal assent to the ever-evolving demands of social justice. In the Nearpod example previously mentioned, students are asked at the end of the exercise to appreciate diversity with the following multiple choice question. How confident are you in your ability to appreciate diversity? A, very confident. B, somewhat confident. C, not at all confident. The teacher then has access to the answers and can provide an assessment of that child's emotional stability and recommend further supplemental material to help the child develop the important social skill of appreciating diversity through the lens of critical theory, of course. Under SEL, children are being conditioned what to think. There is no diversity of thought, but strict uniformity of thought bound by the new orthodoxy of critical theory. Worse, schools and supporting organizations catalog the answers to SEL-based questionnaires and surveys for future use, often without a parent's consent or knowledge. Our friends at the Family Research Council put it bluntly, and we agree with them. CASEL requires total compliance with its methods, with its content, and with its monopoly on how children are taught. It requires the monitoring and tracking of students' emotions. So, in the end, the SEL agenda enforces conformity. It invades privacy, and it undermines the influence of family and faith in a child's life. Instead of promoting strong relationships, as SEL proponents claim, the SEL agenda serves more to isolate children through a program of peer-modeled behavior modification that manipulates the human fear of being socially rejected. This sort of psychological manipulation is more aptly described as social-emotional programming. Parents, we must take a stand against this social engineering program. I'm George Rosca for Protect Our Kids.
So the social emotional learning is to conform our kids to a uniform thought and isolate them and for behavior modification. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take a break because I want to pull up another video that I don't have saved. So we'll come back and continue this discussion.
Days Chevrolet Jasper is North Georgia's business elite commercial truck giant. Box trucks, landscape trucks, flatbed and heavy hauling trucks. When you've got a job to do, we've got the commercial truck for you. And get a federal tax credit up to 100% of the purchase price. Hundreds of commercial trucks are all right here at Days Chevrolet Jasper. Days Chevrolet. Days gets it done. Together, let's drive.
Body Shop in Ellijay. Family owned and operated since 1978. The latest in cutting-edge digital technology and state-of-the-art equipment allow our iCard Gold Class certified technicians to restore your vehicle. Our second-to-none customer service will work directly with your insurance company. Major accident or minor fender bender. We take the dents out of accidents. Larry's Body Shop, North Georgia's #1 body shop. Visit us at collisiondecision.com.
Why give your money to liberal media companies? Put your marketing needs in the hands of a conservative marketing professional and start getting results today. FYN Media Group, one of the top digital marketing agencies in Georgia, specializes in website design and hosting, social media promotion and management, and so much more. Visit FYNmediagroup.com or call 706-889-3564 for a free consultation.
Ladies, when you wear elegant jewelry, you become a force to be reckoned with. You shine brighter than the stars in the sky, and your inner beauty radiates like the sun. So embrace the magic, embrace the elegance, and let your jewelry be a reflection of your true, authentic self. My friends over at North Georgia Diamond know what a woman wants. Go see them for the perfect gift. And remember, when it comes to elegance, there's no such thing as too much. Come see us at North Georgia Diamond. We're igniting passion one sparkle at a time.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
This is a special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
Mesquite Grill, now offering online ordering for your convenience. Check out our new website at mesquitegrillbr.com. That's mesquitegrillbr.com. The great food and service you have come to expect, ready for you when you arrive. Open 7 days a week with a fully stocked bar and friendly service. Bring your furry friends with you and dine on our pet-friendly patio. Also, check out our catering options and let us prepare delicious food for your next event.
Okay, so we're back. So we've been talking about social emotional learning and how it's it's very detrimental to the child's mental health. It's what it teaches is conformity, which means they don't have individual thought. It's all collective thought. It isolates the children and attempts to modify their behavior, but I really think that it just makes their behavior worse. So this is a morning in the classroom for first grade students. So this is what a teacher would do for first grade students. Now it seems okay, but I'm going to chime in a couple of times throughout the video, and I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I just want to kind of show you like a routine in a classroom.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. All right, who else wants to share how they're feeling today? Blessing, how are you feeling today?
It's Fun Friday, and I get to go see my auntie tomorrow.
You get to see your auntie tomorrow? Does she live far away or close by?
Far.
Far. Why do you love to see her so much?
She's awesome.
She's awesome. Oh, make sure you tell her that when you see her. People love to hear compliments. Okay. Okay, one more. My morning meeting is an activity I do every morning for about 10 to 15 minutes to kind of set the tone for the day, and it's part of my social emotional learning curriculum. Good morning. Morning, Sebastian.
So notice how all the kids are touching the rate. So they're rating themselves as they go into the room. As a child, you can imagine if you don't touch that top one like everybody else, how much that would make you feel different. And, at that young age, you don't necessarily want to be different. You want to be all a part of the team, so, and we'll continue.
Welcome back, sir. We missed you yesterday. Good morning, Miss Blessing. Morning, Araceli. So even before they enter my classroom, the social emotional learning is beginning. So I go and I pick them up outside. I say good morning to them there, greet them with a smile. Even if I'm having a bad day, I always have to smile and put everything to the side. And then we walk together to the door, and then that's where we do the greeting. And I love that greeting because it's a choice. So if they feel like giving me a hug today, they give me a hug. If they feel like giving me a high five, it's a high five. And then I have some, today's just a wave, they want to give me a wave. And I always say good morning, or I give them a compliment about what they're wearing. Or if I have a student who is out, oh, thank you, I'm glad you're back today. Just to let them know that I do care and I am noticing when they're here, and I'm letting them know that it's important that they're here. Hi, Miss Genesis. Are we going to talk today? Yes? No? All right, so we always start with our feeling check today. All right, so if you're feeling a little angry today, put a 1 close to your heart. If you're feeling a little sad, a 2 close to your heart. If you're tired, a 3 close to your heart. If you're happy, a 4 close to your heart.
So if they didn't get enough of it in the beginning, they got to do it again. And then it goes on and on, talking about feelings. Everything's about feelings, feelings, feelings. So the motive of SEL was created by an individual adhering to worldviews rooted in atheism, New Age thought, and Buddhism. Their solution to world's problems emphasized knowing thyself and loving others, interpreted through a Marxist lens. Organizations whose mission is to create a utopian world under the guise of diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice concepts originating from Marxist ideology put millions of dollars into the SEL industry. SEL deceptively trains children, apart from their parents, to adopt a postmodern worldview centered on God of self rather than the accomplishments of Jesus. So in 1995, Daniel Goleman published a book called Emotional Intelligence. Emotional intelligence is more important than academic intelligence. And this was the foundation for Castle. And so Goleman practices Buddhism and is a co-author of 3 books with the Dalai Lama. Goleman's worldview contrasts sharply with biblical teachings, and truths from the Bible greatly differ from Buddhism. Christians believe that the sense of peace and wisdom comes from God, while Buddhists believe it comes from self or mind. Christians believe the purpose of life is to glorify God in all things, whereas Buddhists believe a good person gives meaning to life. So, and this is Daniel Goleman. He is the, like I said, he is the founder, or one of the co-founders of Castle, which is the curriculum that is in our schools. And so he developed an emotional intelligence, and the 4 main dominions of emotional intelligence is self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. And then here are the competencies within that system. Now here, the Collective for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, or CASEL, founded in 1994 by a group that included Daniel Goleman, author of Social Intelligence and Emotional Intelligence, an educator, philanthropist, a pioneer in the field of social emotional learning. So this talks a little bit about, or talks about CASEL. Well, let's go over to the CASEL's website. Our history was formed in 1994 to establish high-quality, evidence-based SEL as an essential part of preschool through high school education. The seeds of that idea are, The history of social emotional learning movement is a story of a simple but powerful idea. What if education is fully supported the social, emotional, and academic development of all children? CASEL has been leading a growing movement to make SEL an integral part of education beginning in 1994 with a focus on collaboration. Our nonprofit grew from a small conference in Kalamazoo to partnerships across the country and audience around the globe. So SEL, it talks about James Comer in 1968, supporting the whole child into practice at 2 schools in Connecticut. By the 1980s, the 2 schools saw a decline in behavior challenges. I'm sure their academic performance was not up to par, but I don't have evidence of that. Building on that work, Superintendent of the New Haven Public Schools called for a district-wide focus on social development. In 1987 to 92, the group of educators, researchers led by Timothy Shriver and Roger Wesselberg began the SEL across the classrooms. Now, and this does not talk about Daniel Goleman, which is the emotional, they completely leave him out, which I'm kind of curious on why they don't have him in the timeline, because the emotional intelligence over here, which is a brief by CASEL, it says founded in 1994 by a group that included Daniel Goleman, But then on their website, this is a paper that is distributed by Castle. Let's see if I can scroll up. Castle Briefs, Background on Social Emotional Learning. And it states here, founded in 1994 by a group that included Daniel Goleman, but on their website and their timeline says it was founded in 1994, but it does not mention Daniel Goleman or his book on emotional intelligence, which I thought was interesting. That's something that might be something to look at. So social emotional learning in schools. This is a study conducted by Castle. Updates estimates of SEL implementation across K through 12 schools nationwide. So it is a nationwide policy that all the schools have SEL within them. All the curriculum is based on SEL. Castle is the largest provider for curriculum for our schools. And then here is the video that Castle has produced on what are the core competencies and key settings for their curriculum.
About themselves. Think about the young people in your lives and all the different places where they're learning about themselves, how to relate to others, and work together on goals. How can we intentionally create learning experiences that will help all young people develop and maintain positive relationships, become lifelong learners, and contribute to a more caring, just world? Educators, researchers, community members, families, and the students themselves agree what we need is social and emotional learning, or SEL. SEL is the process through which young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, and attitudes that help us to understand ourselves, connect with others, achieve our goals, and support our communities. We all need opportunities to learn and engage in environments where we feel safe, valued, and a sense of belonging. So how does SEL help schools, families, and communities work together so that all young people have these kinds of learning experiences and achieve success in education, careers, and life? Castle's framework identifies 5 areas of competence that together help us develop a healthy sense of who we are, manage stress, understand the views of others, and work together to create schools and communities where everyone can grow their strengths and interests. Self-awareness is about how we think about ourselves and who we are. It includes understanding our culture, our thoughts, feelings, and what we believe we're capable of, and understanding how these things can influence our behaviors and beliefs. Self-management is the ability to manage those emotions, thoughts, and actions in different situations so that we can achieve individual and collective goals. This includes coping with stress and anxiety, persevering through challenges, and taking action to create positive change. Social awareness is how we understand others, how we learn to take different perspectives and empathize even with people who are different from us. It also includes understanding how the broader norms and systems around us influence how we develop and create a sense of belonging. Relationship skills are how we connect and engage effectively with others, and how we form lasting friendships and connections. This includes communicating clearly, solving problems together, managing conflict and disagreements, and standing up for ourselves and the rights of others. Lastly, responsible decision-making is how we put it all together to make caring and constructive choices. This includes thinking critically about consequences, analyzing the impact of our actions on ourselves and others, and identifying solutions that support our collective well-being. We continue to develop and practice SEL throughout our lives and can adapt and apply these competencies across different contexts and cultures. How we develop SEL is impacted by our environments, which is why we need to work together across classrooms, schools, families, and communities. In the classroom, students can be explicitly taught SEL skills and also can practice and apply SEL during core subjects, like discussing different perspectives in social studies and language arts, or collaboratively problem solving in science or math. SEL is most effective when supported by evidence-based programs and trusting relationships where students are treated as partners in their learning. Beyond the classroom, SEL can be intentionally promoted throughout the school experience, from the way they're greeted in the morning to how discipline practices are carried out and how adults themselves develop and model positive relationships and the SEL competencies. Outside of school, families and caregivers provide the earliest and ongoing learning and interactions for their children, so it's important that schools listen to and authentically partner with families to help shape SEL priorities and strategies for supporting their children. Similarly, when schools partner with community organizations to align their efforts, SEL opportunities can be strengthened and students benefit even more. With SEL, we can help create schools and learning spaces where all young people feel connected, inspired, engaged, and ready to contribute to the world around them.
So, I thought it was interesting that it talked about managing anxiety when we know that suicide's up 22%. And it wants the students to be partners with teachers, classmates, parents, communities. Talked about being partners. And it's just a global mindset. Being partners with your friends, your neighbors, your family, your teachers, just, not having an individual thought, all that stuff. So again, here's the competencies of social emotional learning. Notice that families is way out here. It's not part of the student. The families are getting pushed out. And SEL is in every core class. Reading, writing, arithmetic, science, social studies, it's all has. So they're getting bombarded every which way they turn. Funding. So the funding for SEL, notice here, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I'm sure this is a conservative number. I'm sure it's much, much more. Zuckerberg, he also contributes as well. So it's a big business. Your kids are a commodity. It's not something that should be valued in this society that they're building. So the next two videos, they are quite disturbing, and it talks about the war on children is the first one, and then mind polluters. All these links that I've got, I'm going to have in the description of the videos so that you can go and take a look if you choose to. But these are just trailers of documentaries that people have done. The war on children, it's pretty intense. So let's take a look at these two trailers.
Are they intentionally sexualizing our children and stealing their innocence?
I think that's right.
TikTok specifically is designed to target young people. That's who their audience is.
Have children died because of social media?
Absolutely.
Have they been trafficked off of social media?
100%.
Have they been sexually exploited off of social media?
Ongoing, yes.
I'm scrolling on TikTok. I see little kids with TikTok. What are they looking at?
this is what you don't want kids to see. Is that correct?
Exactly.
And again, this is depicting children. This is supposed to be kids.
Well, honestly, I didn't even know that transition from female to male was an option until I was on social media and began being exposed to those type of communities.
You've never seen a 18-month-old masturbating?
No, I haven't. Have you seen any sexually explicit drag shows marketed as all ages for kids that you would denounce or think that are a problem and that you want to distance yourself from?
No.
You know this is wrong.
So, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to end the interview.
They use the word sexualize kids at a young age, or, give me a break.
It just seems like there's no moral, construct at all.
Are kids facing just the absolute worst onslaught of grooming that we've ever seen?
Yes, the entertainment industry is sexualizing children for an agenda.
Your daughter was secretly transitioned at school.
This policy has to do with children as young as 5 all the way through high school.
Penthouse footed the bill to lobby before state boards of education. Yes, Penthouse and Playboy. The history behind this is far darker than most Americans understand.
Do you think the big tech companies at this point are essentially aiding and abetting human traffickers and people who are working to exploit children?
Absolutely.
If you don't want to hear it in a school board meeting, why should children be able to check it out of the school system?
There is misinformation presented that somehow that we're doing surgery on minors or even children, and that simply is not true.
How old were you when they gave you a double mastectomy?
It was a month after my 13th birthday.
Ultimately, we're going to talk about, are they going to give, the counselor's going to give them medication there at school without their parents' permission? I mean, I think we're leading towards an absurd and horrific time.
Well, first of all, we weren't forewarned we would be sharing a locker room. We had no idea. I turned around, a 6'4", 22-year-old man, fully intact with an exposing male genitalia.
This ideology is killing our kid.
Do you think more people need to speak up to protect kids like your daughter?
Yes, I do.
Well, I think from heaven she can see how hard you fought for her.
Do you feel like this is a war on children?
I know it's a war on children, but like they said, we're coming for your kids.
Yeah.
And they have.
So, that's a war on children, and you can see that on different platforms. It's a documentary. This is an older documentary, super good, but we'll go ahead and watch that as well.
Sexual predators and comprehensive sex education both break down inhibitions. That's what they start with. They also gain trust with the child and then slowly start to get them towards sexual activity.
Anything goes. You are teaching children adult child sex. You're teaching transgender issues. And children are moldable and influenced by that.
They said, okay, now we need you and your team to be able to explain what homosexuality is to a 4-year-old student.
To introduce this kind of material at that age, frankly, it's child abuse.
You're going to teach our children that it's okay for any two children of any age, of any sex, to have sexual intercourse with each other as long as two components are present. One's using a condom and they both give consent. Did I hear that correctly?
It's not a neutral venue. There's no such thing. Okay, the schools are doing your job. They are discipling your children, but they're not discipling them in the faith of Jesus Christ.
It's only the exceptional child that even survives that system. Most do not survive. Most have not survived.
They believe that children are sexual from birth and that they deserve and have the right to be sexually active and to seek sexual pleasure. And if anyone is stopping them from that, then you are judging and oppressing them.
Even kindergarten now, they're wanting to teach them more and more perverse information and acts and put that into the children's minds. And once that poison is in a child's mind, it doesn't leave. They'll always remember what they learned. And it's by design, it's orchestrated.
In my humble opinion, it will be worse before it gets better.
Mind Polluters is very, very graphic. So if you do watch it, make sure you don't have your children around. But it's a good movie or documentary. So with all that being said, and we're just gonna go over this quickly. So we'll end the show earlier than what Brian would normally end it. So this is hslda.org, and they have the homeschool laws. So you see here, the green is no regulation. The light blue is low regulation. Darker blue is moderate, and red is high regulation on homeschools. So in Georgia, there's very little regulation. You can click on your state, and it'll tell you, give you some articles and some information on how you can be a homeschool. It's very simple to comply with Georgia law. We'll just do that real quick. Oh, there's a video to do it, and I think I saw. Okay, so under Georgia law, you have to be the legal guardian or parent of the child. You have to have at home a high school diploma or GED. Within 30 days, you have to declare that you're going to be a homeschool. Submit it to your Department of Education. Provide at least 180 days of instruction. Teach the required subjects. Write an annual progress report, which it says it doesn't get submitted, but you have to keep it at least 3 years. And then test your child every 3 years. And that's it to become a homeschool in Georgia. And so there's lots of resources out there to start. Connect with parents. Understand your laws, which is easy through this organization. Learn teaching styles, learning styles, educational approaches. Choose curriculum. Now there's different types of curriculum. There's some that's free and some that cost, and different things. Decide where you'll set up your homeschool and create a schedule, and then just enjoy it, reevaluate, and then highlight your students' growth. So let's take a look at the curriculum. So there's different curriculums. I thought I could find a quick resource. But you can go and search these websites if that's something that you want to do. Oh, this is the one that I wanted to go on. Homeschooling on a budget or no budget. And it doesn't want to go. Oh, there it is. So there's different ways that you can go, and free curriculum. You can go to library, used books, online sources, and things like that. So there's all kinds of resources out there if you choose to do a homeschool. Homeschooling statistics, there's 3.7 million people or students in homeschooling. Most homeschoolers are in North Carolina, Florida, Georgia. If you're concerned about socialization for your child, then you can join a co-op. And a co-op is a group of homeschoolers that meet weekly, generally, to be able to have those social skills, and that You can join churches, the youth group. I know our youth group have several homeschoolers in the youth group, so that's something that you can do as well. Homeschool students outperform institutional school students academically. The highest homeschooling rate among students is with a grade equivalent to 6 or 8. 48% of homeschooling households have 3 or more children. The average cost is $700 to $1,800 per year. Of course, you can get that lower. And here's some more statistics, with Georgia coming in third with 4.6% of students are homeschooled. As of, this is 2021. I'm sure it's much higher because of COVID since then. So the reasons why people or parents have taken their students out of public schools. Here are the reasons why people don't homeschool. And the biggest one being that they're afraid of socializing their children. Like I said, you do have co-ops and different things that are available. There's so many sports and community events in every community. You know, you have your county sports, you have travel sports. You may have to go to different places to get those travel sports, but you can do those. Like I said, co-ops, and then just getting in tune with your homeschool community. There's Facebook pages that you can get connected for that. So, like I said, I will have all these websites and videos attached to the 3 segments so that you can go and take a look and do your own research. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. I was hoping that I'd be able to play it all in one segment and have Rhonda talk about it because she does such a phenomenal job. But she did give me these resources so that I can bring it to you and share this information. If you have any questions, you can contact me. My email's on the bottom, fyndiane@gmail.com. And I'd be happy to direct you to information. Y'all have a wonderful day, and we will see you tomorrow. Like Brian said, he will not be here tomorrow. He is traveling to Studio B, and I will have the show tomorrow, and he should be back on site or on the show on Wednesday. So we will see you guys later tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Bye.